Hey everybody, this is Dallin with Dallin Parker Consulting, and today's episode 2 of Know Your Triggers. If you're anything like me, your inbox has become just kind of a dumping ground for things that never really get checked because you've got so many fires you're putting out. And this particular trigger is very useful for getting the correct things visibility, whether it be a notification in Teams or added directly to a SharePoint site so that it can be reported on, added to a SharePoint list. Any number of actions can be taken when an email arrives. So in this case, we're going to imagine we have someone sending us an invoice and we want to add this invoice to the invoice tracker. We could also notify the finance team, but since we're focused on the trigger and not the follow-up actions necessarily, we're just going to add it to an invoice tracker today. So as we look at the new email or when a new email arrives trigger, we've got a few actions that we can take or a few parameters. We have the two parameters, so you can assign it to a specific inbox. In my case, we're going to use Dallin at dallinparkerconsulting.com. We also have another trigger that could be used for a shared inbox, and we'll cover that in a later video. And as we look through some of the other parameters, we have whether or not it includes attachments. Since we're looking for invoices, we want to find attachments. We want to find something with a subject filter where it contains the word invoice. And we're only looking at emails with attachments. So the difference between include attachments and only with attachments, if I'm saying give me items that only have attachments, that's just looking at the emails with an attachment. If I were to leave this blank, this flow would look at every email, but in the data retrieved, it would include attachments. So this is kind of a way to filter it down to only give me the items with attachments, and then be sure to include those attachments in the data that I'm receiving. We also have a few other parameters that we could use. So we could tag importance, if something is marked urgent or high importance, we could notify someone via Teams on that. Um, we can say if it's from a specific person. So if we're looking for emails from a CEO or from a particular vendor, we can check for items that have been only items that have been CC'd to someone in particular, or items that arrive in a specific folder. So again, in our case, we're keeping it simple. We're just looking at items in Dallin Parker Consulting. And for each of these items that we receive, we're going to do a couple of things. First, we're going to get the attachments. And here we're getting the message ID and the attachment ID. And then we're going to create a file in our SharePoint folder. And this particular SharePoint folder is in our demo finance group area. We're adding the item ID. We're making this a view and edit. And then anyone with a link can grab this and open the file. And then after that, we're going to add a row into our invoice tracker. We're going to say who it's from, what the file name is, and then provide a link. So we have client demo 10024 about to send us this invoice from October 7th, 2025. They, in their subject line, have invoice stated, here's an invoice, and then the attachment. So as we send this, we should shortly receive the email that an invoice has come in. And then when we receive that, our flow will kick off and start running. So we'll give this just a moment. Let's only look at the unread items here. And then we'll go back to our flow so we can watch this move once it gets going. So there we go. We've just received our email, invoice. We don't have to check that email. We should see the flow start running shortly. And sometimes there's a minute or two lag between when the email comes in and when the flow kicks off. In our case, we see it running now. And if we click into this, once this loads, we'll see the email received check marked. It should have already got the attachments and is moving through the rest of the process. Of course, this is taking a little longer to load than I had wished. There we go. So we've got the email, we've got the attachments, we've created the file, created the sharing link for the file, and then we've added a row into the table. So if we come here to our table, hopefully, there we go. We see client demo, we see our invoice. If we take this and copy it, it should give us a copy of said invoice. And again, we can take this and have it notify someone in Teams. Teams tends to be monitored a little bit better than say an inbox. So again, a number of things that we can do with when an email arrives. We can base it off of urgent request. We can forward attachments. We can ping people in Teams. If a VIP client sends a message, it's all about making sure that the signal cuts through the noise so that the right emails get the right attention every single time. So then my question for you is, what's one email you wish never got missed again? And implement this trigger for that one type of email, whether it's vendor quotes, invoices, actions that need to be taken, any number of items there. Let's get those automated so that we can cut through that noise and make sure that every email is getting the attention that it needs. If this has been helpful, go ahead and like and subscribe, and stay tuned for episode 3 of Know Your Triggers next week.